Hi everyone. In this video we will learn how to calculate upper and lower control limits for X bar and R chart. We have the sample data from West Ellis Industries. The management is concerned about the production of a special metal screw used by several of the company's largest customers. The diameter of the screw is critical to the customers. Data from 5 samples appear in the table. We have 4 observations available for each sample. We are required to calculate whether the process is in statistical control or not. We will first calculate the average of each sample and we will call it X bar value for that sample. So for sample 1, the average value is 0.5018. For sample 2, the average value is 0.5027. For sample 3, the average value is 0.5026. And for sample 4, the value is 0.502. For sample 5, we have the value as 0.5045. Next, we will calculate the range for each sample. We now have the values for X bar. Next, we will calculate the range for each sample. In order to calculate the range, we look at the values in sample 1 and we calculate the range like this. We identify the largest value and the smallest value in the sample 1 and we find the difference between these two values. So the range for sample 1 is 0.018. Similarly, we can calculate the range for sample 2 and onwards. The range for sample 2 is 0.0021. The range for sample 3 is 0.0017. For sample 4, the range value is 0.0026. And for sample 5, the value is 0.0022. Next, we calculate the value of X double bar and R bar. When we say we want to calculate the value of X double bar, we will focus on this column where we already have the value of X bar and we take the average of this. Remember, this column already has the average of each sample. If we take another average of this column, then it will be double average of this value of X and we call that X double bar. So the value of X double bar will be calculated like this. We will add up all these values and divide by the number of values. In that case, X double bar will be equal to 0.5027. Similarly, we can calculate the average for the range column. We add up all the values in the range column and the value for R bar is 0.0021. To calculate the upper and lower control limits for R chart, simply plug in the values for D3 and D4 in the given formula and we can calculate the upper control limit and lower control limit for R chart like this. Remember, we got the values of D3 and D4 from this chart. This is the chart which is used to calculate 3 sigma limits for X bar chart and R chart. In the exam, you will be given these values of D3, D4 or A2. Now, how to read this chart? We look at the sample size. Remember, the sample size here means the number of observations. So for these observations, we have 4 observations in the data. So in that case, D3 value will be 0 and D4 value will be 2.282. So this is how we calculate the upper and lower control limit for R chart. Similarly, for X bar chart, we look at the values of A2 in this table. Since we have 4 observations, so in that case, we look at the value in this column of A2 for 4 observations and the value is 0.729. We plug in this value of 0.729 in this formula where we are required to have this value of X double bar that we have calculated in the previous slide and we already have a value of R bar. We plug in these values and we calculate the value of upper control limit and lower control limit for X bar chart. And this is how we calculate upper and lower control limits for R and X bar chart. Thank you for watching and see you next time.